And we're back with more Skyrim tips. In my previous video I went into character creation, the main quest, leveling up, skills and an overall view of combat, be it melee, ranged or magic. If you haven't watched that video yet, then check the description below so you're all caught up. So with that very quick introduction out of the way, I'm Craig, this is Amalgamingle, and let's dive into yet another 5 tips for Skyrim newcomers. Okay, consider the first two to be a joint entry of sorts. Like many an RPG, Skyrim is a game where you can get filthy rich, but at the beginning of the game that seems like a far cry from the reality of the situation. So whether you side with the Imperials or Stormcloaks when you're escaping Halgan, honestly, makes no difference at the beginning of the game and you can always change your mind later. Make sure you take a few weapons here and there, as well as potions and any magical items, because once you get to Riverwood you can sell any weapons and armour off to the blacksmith and everything else to the general goods trader. If you're especially patient, you could always literally strip everyone of everything, which will make you over encumbered, but you will still be able to walk and slowly make your way to Riverwood, where you should be able to hit around 1,000 gold before you head off to Whiterun. Tip within a tip: if you do end up over encumbered and you have a bow, then equip said bow and draw it and then sneak. Your character will move slightly faster for reasons unbeknownst to me. Also, if you wait 48 hours in game, then shopkeepers will reset their stock and their gold and you can go right back to selling anything you have over. So allow me to break down the shopkeepers for you. There are different kinds of merchants in the game: blacksmiths, innkeepers, court wizards, alchemy store owners, clothing store owners, fresh food stands and general goods stores. And at the start of the game they will only buy certain things. Blacksmiths will buy weapons, armour and smithing materials and certain types of misc items. Innkeepers will buy food and drink. Court wizards will buy spellbooks, soul gems, magical items and even jewellery. Alchemists will buy ingredients, potions and certain misc items. Clothing stores buy non-armour clothing and jewellery. Fresh food stands will also buy food and ingredients. And the general goods store will buy literally everything. Until you invest in the fence perk in the speech tree, you cannot sell stolen items to any of the shopkeepers in the game and only to the fences of the Thieves Guild. And even then, only after you've joined them. And I should also say, at the beginning of the game you will see that shopkeepers buy for less than an item's worth. The higher your speech skill, the more you can sell items for, and the less shopkeepers will sell items for, even if you don't put points into the speech skill tree itself. But if you do put time into speech and get it to level 50, you can purchase the perk Merchant, which allows you to sell any item to any shopkeeper except quest items and stolen goods, of course. This essentially turns every merchant into a general goods store. Most of the big walled cities have a fair amount of traders, although be warned that many of them barely have over 1,000 gold in the beginning, so be careful when trading. If you get overzealous, you'll end up giving your item away instead of getting paid. And the money matters, especially in the early few levels of the game. I'd say until you reach about level 20. For warriors and stealth players, you should use gold to buy any weapons that might be above your current weapon and armour, which will only be steel for blades, axes and maces, and for archers, the hunting bow and imperial bow is better than the longbow. For armours, this will also be steel for heavy armour pursuers, and for those of you who want to be light on your feet, this will be either leather or hide. Now yes, I'm going off the base game armour sets for now because I'll get into mods and creation club later in this video, so keep watching if you want to see a deeper dive there. Another reason you'll want as much gold as possible at the beginning is for potions. You'll want to buy stamina potions for warrior types, since power attacks drain stamina, and you'll also want potions of healing because getting up close and personal is going to leave a few scars. The same also applies for stealth players. Your stealth skill and weapon skills won't be that strong and effective, so chances are you may get detected and have to fight the traditional way. Of course you could always run away, but where's the fun in that? For magic players, you'll want to go to use your gold for 4 different things: magical jewellery, such as rings and amulets and even circlets, magical clothing, such as robes, potions of healing, and potions of magicka, because even though you may end up with items that bolster your chosen magical school, you're basically rocking up to battle in nothing more than a bathrobe with some nifty powers. However, I should also say that you will see certain pieces of armour that have magical fortifying effects that you may be able to purchase, but also magical items such as these I usually loot at the end of a dungeon, so hold off on blowing all your gold on that glowing set of steel armour. And now entry 2. Once you get near Whiterun, you'll discover the Whiterun stables, and this is where you should stop before heading into the city. Skyrim lets you fast travel anywhere in the world providing you have met 3 criteria. You have already discovered it, you are outside, and that you are not in combat or have enemies nearby. But when you first start the game, you cannot fast travel anywhere. So outside the Whiterun stables, you'll see a horse-drawn carriage. Speak to the driver, and for a certain amount of gold, he'll take you to any hold in the game. There are 9 in total: Whiterun, Markarth, Riften, Winterhold, Windhelm, Dawnstar, Morthal, Yormark, with Solitude being its capital, and Falkreath. And from there you'll be able to move out in any direction of the map, and once you've discovered any location, you can always fast travel back later. Once again, a quick tip within a tip for you is that, for whatever reason, the carriage driver will be outside Markarth, Whiterun, Riften, Windhelm and Solitude, but will not be found in Morthal, Winterhold, Falkreath or Dawnstar. I have no idea if this was intentional by Bethesda, but basically what this means is that if you use a carriage to go to Dawnstar, for example, and once the game is loaded and you've discovered the location, you can't just hop back on the carriage and discover somewhere else, because even though you're here, the carriage driver, his horse and carriage, are nowhere to be seen. This means you have to fast travel to a location that has a stable for you to continue on with discovering all the major locations in the game. Despite this, I still consider this the quickest way to help you fill out the map. Skyrim may not be as big as games like The Witcher 3 or Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but it's still a big game in its own right, and this will make getting around a lot easier. Moving on to our next entry. Next on our list is weapons, armour and magical items. I briefly alluded to this in the previous entries as well as the previous video, but here I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. When it comes to armours, Skyrim actually has a very decent amount of choice for you to pick and choose for ones that match your character, and this roster was boosted with the Dawnguard and Dragonborn DLCs. As you can see, they all have a different look and feel, so it all comes down to choice. I wouldn't worry too much about defensive stats, because if you invest in the light armour or heavy armour trees, as well as smithing, even leather and hide armours will be good at keeping you alive, and the same applies for weapons. And once again, it all comes down to choice and what you want. Sadly for mages, there isn't all that much choice except in the colour of the robe you wear. There are novice, adept, apprentice, expert and master robes. These all vary in colour as well as what the amount of boost they provide, with master robes being the ones you might want to aim for. For all of you that use weapons and armour, you should know that, not including stuff added with the Creation Club in the anniversary special, as well as mods, yes, we'll still be getting to that, dragon armour and weapons are the absolute top tier you can get in the game, and this can be quite difficult. To craft dragon armour and weapons, you need the items that they drop when they die, and that's dragon bones and dragon scales, and dragons do not drop these by the truckload. You'll have to hunt a lot of dragons if you want to get the best armour and weapons the game has to offer. But if you watched part 1, you'll know I said to hold off on the main quest, so dragons are not available straight away. But the second best, and even third best, light armour and heavy armours are still damn good in their own right. When it comes to weapons, mages are not without aid. Mages can use staffs, and they have a hidden little feature that you might not know about unless you see a certain tip during a loading screen, and that's this. Staffs are only as good as you are. What I mean by this is that, say you have a staff of fireball, the higher and stronger your destruction skill is, the more damage the staff will do in turn, as well as have more turns before you need to charge it up. Ah yes, the charging. One annoying aspect of the staffs in Skyrim is that you'll see above your stamina bar a little grey white bar. This is the charge level of your staff and how much use you can get out of it. To recharge your staff, you need to use soul gems, and the greater the soul gem, no pun intended, the more charge will be refilled. And like all one-handed weapons, you can dual wield staffs. And that's not even counting the unique weapons, armour and other items that you can receive at the end of completing quests. This is a short entry compared with most of the ones in this video, but when it comes to weapons, armour and staffs, all I can say is experiment until you find the ones you want.
These are the Guardian Stones, 3 of the 13 ancient standing stones that dot Skyrim's landscape. Go ahead, see for yourself.
Our penultimate entry is to do with something you can come across at the beginning of the game when you're on your way to Riverwood, and that's the standing stones. What you might not know is that there are 13 standing stones dotted about the land, and what these do vary from stone to stone, but they all add an ability to your character that you can view in active perks. and they are as follows. The Apprentice Stone regenerates magicka at a 100% increased rate at the cost of taking twice as much magical damage. The Atronach Stone fortifies magicka by 50 points and grants 50% spell absorption, however it can also cause magic regeneration to decrease by 50%. The Lady Stone increases health and stamina regeneration rates by 25%. The Lord Stone provides 50 additional points of armor rating and 25% magic resistances. These bonuses do not work past the associated resistance caps. The Lover Stone gains 15% more experience in all skills quicker. The Mage Stone improves magic associated skills 20% faster. This also includes enchanting. The Ritual Stone reanimates corpses to fight for you once a day from a 75-foot resurrection field that expands out for 200 seconds. The Serpent Stone grants the ability to use a ranged paralysis poison on opponents once every in-game day. The poison paralyzes the target for 5 seconds and does 25 points of damage. The Shadow Stone lets you become invisible once a day for 60 seconds, however interacting with anything will make you visible again. The Steed Stone gives a bonus of 100 extra carrying capacity and no movement penalty is received by armor. Armor also has 0 weight when equipped. The Thief Stone improves stealth associated skills 20% faster. The skills are Archery, Alchemy, Light Armor, Lockpicking, Pickpocket, Sneak and Speech. The Tower Stone enables you to automatically open expert or lower level locks once a day. And finally, the Warrior Stone improves combat associated skills 20% faster. These skills are Block, Heavy Armor, One-Handed, Smithing and Two-Handed. As you can see, there is a lot of diversity, although I do find some of them to be pretty useless in the grand scheme of things. The Ritual, Shadow, Steed and Tower Stones are just not worth getting in my opinion. Reanimating corpses sounds great in theory, but you are rarely ever surrounded by dead bodies, enough to warrant its use, and if you are surrounded by dead bodies, chances are you've already won and are just stood around the corpses of your fallen foes. Becoming invisible for 60 seconds also sounds great, but if you want this, chances are you're already playing as a stealth character, and most NPCs in the game, both civilian and enemy, have low sneak skills and you can usually just sneak past them just fine. And if you're in a situation where you're overwhelmed, you can always sprint away because enemies don't sprint after you, so after a certain distance, they give up the ghost. Extra carrying capacity and no armor weight sounds great, but again, you never really need these. Once you get into the flow of the game, you'll soon start to see what loot is worth taking and what isn't. And as for no weight armor, both the light armor and heavy armor skill trees have a perk that make both of them weigh nothing when wearing a full set, so this isn't worth it. Being able to open expert locks and lower might sound great, but lockpicks are extremely common in this game, with many general goods stores selling them and being common loot on drop bandits. Lockpicks can also be found in chests, and the lockpicking mechanic in Skyrim is not as complicated as Starfield. You just need to know how to find that sweet spot and hey presto, you're in. In my opinion, the best standing stones are the Atronach Stone, Mage Stone, Thief Stone and Warrior Stone, because these play to either one of the 3 archetype characters or allows you to take magic attacks with less damage, which is pretty useful as mages and other magically gifted enemies are common enough. As with many things in Skyrim, experiment. You'll soon find the stone for you. And now we reach the final entry in my tips, and that's probably the thing Skyrim has become the most famous for: mods, and to a lesser extent the Creation Club. Now I already had this whole section scripted and recorded, but then Bethesda, in their infinite wisdom, decided to update how you access mods and Creation Club on the start menu, so please forgive me as I have a minor rant. For those of you that don't know, on December 5th, there was a nearly 13 gig update for Skyrim across most platforms, and what this did was lump the mods and Creation Club stuff all together. For those of you not in the know, before this update, this is what the main menu of Skyrim used to look like. Mods and Creation Club were kept separately like they should be. Now it looks like this, with the Creation section now an amalgamation of mods and Creation Club content. I originally had a section where I said that the mod page on the PlayStations and Xboxes was not user friendly compared with the PC version, but I would now argue that it is compared with this new stupid layout. The original layout of the mods looked like this, and the Creation Club page looked like this. It wasn't the best, but it didn't overwhelm players with too much content as it does now. Thankfully you can tell what are mods and what's Creation Club. Also, I don't know if this was just me, but when I tried to record this originally on my PS5, it crashed a few times. The Xbox seemed to be fine for the most part, but just be a little wary when navigating this new layout. Rant over. Anyway, I suppose I should actually get to the mods and Creation Club. For mods, there's so much choice I hardly know where to begin. And I'm sorry to all you potential Skyrim players on the Switch, but you can't get any mods, but you can get all the Creation Club content if you got the Anniversary Special Edition. Or at least you used to be able to, but I'll get to that in a moment. This entry is solely for the Xbox, PlayStation and PC players. Sorry. If you are a new player to Skyrim, which I assume you are if you're watching this video, then I would definitely hold off on installing any mods for a good while. Part of the reason for this is that there is so much variety when it comes to mods, I don't even think a dedicated video could do it justice in what's out there, both on consoles and PC. There are player homes, unique armors and weapons, new spells, new quests, fixes to the UI, new companions, new locations, and so much more. If you are hunting for the achievements or trophies for Skyrim, then you will definitely want to hold off installing any mods because these make them disabled. This makes perfect sense to me, as a lot of mods are also cheats that add places filled with tons of gold you can get right out the gate, or give you access to quest items that you shouldn't be able to get at level 1. But there is also another downside. Installing too many mods, or installing them in the wrong order, can have some disastrous effects to your save. Characters can disappear or suddenly die, which has happened to me on more than one occasion, or sometimes they can run around with no clothes equipped, or you might not even be able to access the mod in question. There are many reasons this can happen, but anyway, be careful when looking at mods. Even with this new Creations update, the PC version has a much better layout, as not only can you see better pictures of what the mod entails, but it also goes into more description. But the PC modding scene is also a bit of a minefield, as there are multiple sites that you can get mods from, the two most prominent being Steam and Nexus Mods. Personally, I'm a sucker for unique weapons, armour, and I also love a really good player home. I like hanging all my spoils up to display. If I can give at least a couple of recommendations, I would say the unofficial Skyrim patch, which fixes a lot of bugs and glitches to the game, and another one is the Armour Replacer, that swaps out some of the vanilla and boring armours of the game and replaces them with more unique variants that help to make them feel just a little bit more unique. In Entry 3, I know I didn't show mod weapons and armours or even Creation Club content, but this is one I really like. And so we move on to the Creation Club, Bethesda's controversial paid modding scene. I'm not here to go into that whole debacle, but I have to go back to the update I previously mentioned. When the Anniversary Special was released, you had access to every single Creation Club item that was added to Skyrim. Like mods, this covers a large range of things, such as new pets, weapon and armor sets, new spells, new jewelry, new player homes, new quests, and even fishing. My god, fishing. I never thought I'd see the day. Joking aside, the problem is that for newcomers you might not even know you've stumbled upon Creation Club content when you're playing the game, but you can no longer access every Creation Club item. Now you'll need to get Creation Club credits to purchase these new items. At the time of this recording, I haven't bought any of this new Creation Club content because none of them really interest me right now. Anyway, unlike mods, Creation Club content is usually triggered through quests given to you either through journals, notes, or when the courier will find you out and about in the world. Now this isn't too bad for the most part, but you can start most of these quests as soon as you finish Helgen, and this can be a bit of a problem because you might not even know you're doing a Creation Club quest, and some of these can have tough enemies, given that a lot of the time the reward at the end is a really powerful weapon or set of armour. One in particular is the Saints and Seducers quest that you might accidentally activate when talking to the Roman Khajiit trading caravan. Some of the enemies in this quest are pretty tough for your standard bandit, but you can get some really good loot and armor sets out of it. All I would say when it comes to questing in Skyrim is take your time and enjoy yourself. And there we are, another 5 tips for Skyrim newcomers. Let me know if any of these tips listed in this video and part 1 helped you, and for you veterans, feel free to add your own. Also, be sure to check out the link below for any other Elder Scrolls content, and be sure to check out our Discord server where we can talk about all things gaming. I've been Craig, this is Amalgamingle, and thank you very much for watching.